Hello and welcome to The Blind Spot, brought to you by the Shehu Musa Yar'Adua Foundation. I'm Amy from Seda Films, here alongside my co-host.
Hi, I'm Emery Kenneth.
And we are here to guide you through today's enlightening discussion. We are joined here today with Ms. Amaka Ophelia Patrick and Mr. Donald Onaka.
Okay.
Can you please tell the audience a little bit about yourself and your work?
Okay, like you rightly said, my name is Donald Onanka. I'm a writer, filmmaker, and the creative director of Potter's Gallery Initiative.
My name is Patrick Amaka Ophelia, and I work with Yar'Adua Foundation as their communication officer. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Donald, in a layman's language, could you please define the term disability?
Any long-term physical, sensory, intellectual, mental impairment that in interaction with any barrier, hinders you from fully participating or effective participation in society. That is the simplest form of definition of a disability. The word impairment and participation is very, very important in this definition. Thank you.
Interesting. As a follow-up question, are there factors to consider when conceptualizing the term disability?
Very, very important. Very, very important. Number one factor is impairment. Impairment and limitation. Because these are two things that will prevent you from effectively participating in society like others.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think because it limits your participation, one. Are you familiar with the concept of ableism? Yeah. Which refers to discrimination and prejudice against persons with disabilities. How does ableism perpetuate narrow definitions of disability and limit opportunities for inclusion in society?
First, the concept of ableism, and person with disability or persons with disability, it is something that is socially constructed. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of an engineering of a social norm, depending on where you are. I'll give you an example. Stephen Covey is one of his best-selling books, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Said we all live based on our frame of reference. How you define the world is based on your frame of reference. Where you are standing depends on where you've been sitting. You understand? So ableism, in my own idea, is socially constructed based on where you are and how you are interacting with the society. Everything that persons with disabilities suffers in terms of prejudice and stigma is socially constructed.
I think just expanding a bit more on the concept of ableism, because it's basically how it's a form of discrimination, and it has to do also with language and perception. So can we discuss a little bit about the forbidden language that is so common in society, especially in Nigerian society, which perpetuates these the stigma and stereotypes?
When it comes to forbidden language as regards disability, I think this forbidden language are language that we use that kind of hurts the feelings of those we are referring to. It degrades our experiences.
Right.
It brings us low and makes us like we are incapacitated in many other ways than we actually are. Mm. So some of these languages are calling a person with cerebral palsy retarded or somebody that is mentally unstable. Another one is calling somebody who is speech impaired dumb.
Or deaf and dumb.
Deaf and dumb.
Very, yeah. It's hurtful for the person on the receiving end. It's very insulting as well, but also it's harmful because it shows them as like a weaker or incapable. So saying somebody is deaf is not wrong. The person is deaf or suffers hearing impairment or deafness. But saying deaf and dumb, I don't know where that came from, but it's so dehumanizing.
Yeah,
or like you said,
sometimes they
retarded.
say, are you dumb?
Yeah.
Or are you deaf? Can't you hear me?
Exactly. Yeah, tone and
Fine,
delivery.
the person is deaf.
Right.
But saying, are you deaf? It's insulting.
It's extremely, degrading. And another one I've noticed, I mean, there's so many terms, I feel even uncomfortable saying it, but we have to say it because it's a conversation and it needs to be completely eradicated, from our, from our vocabulary. There's another one, like speaking of people with, physical disabilities or mobility disabilities,
Cripple.
or is a leper. I don't even know like where it's really, really bad, I don't know if there's any other terms you've heard that really needs to be challenged now because people even use it in speaking to people who are not with disability, just to insult them,
Like what I was telling you that the issue of disability is very controversial. People have their own definition and how they describe, persons with disability. Some will tell you they are differently able. Yes, looking at it, they have their reason. Some will tell you there are people with special needs, persons with special needs, special abilities, differently able, physically challenged. So there are a school of thoughts that support this kind of definition. You understand?
Yeah.
But going by the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, that is where we draw our frame of reference. And we believe that there is a need. It is that need, that is identified. That is why we believe that there is a disability. If there's no need, there won't be disability.
Yeah. And I mean, you just answered my next question because I was going to say disability is often viewed as a spectrum, or it's meant to be viewed as a spectrum as opposed to a binary category. And you've just elaborated on some of the diversity of experiences and abilities within the disability community.
I think there is a need for persons with disabilities, now I'm talking to persons with disabilities, to understand our diversity. Let me give you a very simple example. I have a WhatsApp group for my own, in our organization. And that WhatsApp group, we use it to just share information. Now, my work is to get any information, opportunities in the art and creative sector and share in that group. So I keep on doing this now. One day, one of our members, a visually impaired person, he called my attention that everything I'm sharing in this WhatsApp group, that they don't have a screen, did you say a screen reader? They don't have a screen reader to understand what I'm sharing. I said, so sorry. I am ignorant in this space. I don't know what screen reader is. Please, can you educate me? And he felt bad, started insulting me, that I should be very careful. Now he did a recorded message, a voice note, and published in that group. Before you know it, another deaf person also replied that even the voice note you are sending now, me too, you have also marginalized me. So we should be very careful when we begin to talk about marginalization, and we should really understand our diversity. But the truth of the matter, most of us don't even understand our own diversity.
Yeah, that's so key.
So it's a good example of,
And there are people with multiple disabilities.
Yes.
So I think it's important to seek to understand and also be curious about people, because just, there's also indivisible disabilities disabilities that are
visible.
obvious, that are visible,
Yes.
So I think we need to just be more curious, a lot more sensitive, and just, ask the right questions so that you know how to, like you said, relate with somebody, like not sending a voice note when another person will not be able to listen to it.
In my group, Network of Women with Disabilities, we set aside a day when we educate ourselves on these matters, different kinds of disability, how to handle the next person and all that. So I think educating ourselves, even within the community, is very, very important.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are ignorant, even though you have a disability, or you yourself, you are ignorant about the other person's needs. So we need to educate ourselves, make sure that everyone in your community are aware that you are not the only one here. There are others who are not exactly like you, but they all have their own needs too.
Exactly.
So we have to be accommodating.
Yeah, because some people actually feel like my own disability is beyond your own, it's
Mhm.
bigger than yours, so I need the most
That's
care
right.
and attention. And
After all, you can't see your own. You
Right.
look old.
exactly, that's very key. Really important to note that.
My next question for you, Mr. Donald, is this. How does disability intersect with other aspects of identity, such as gender, race, sexuality, and socioeconomic status?
Okay. First, I know that when it comes to issue of gender, first you are a woman before a woman with disability, and one of the issues we are also facing when it comes to, because disability, I always believe that disability requires a twin track approach, in handling, meaning that in every sector there is that disability component you need to handle. So when it comes to gender, even within the women movement, they also discriminate against women with
Of course,
disability.
yes.
You understand? So these are some of the issues we face that time may not, really allow us to dig deeper into it.
So, Ms. Amaka, many people see disability as a problem instead of a human experience that they can empathize or try to relate to. Why do you believe that disability is such a polarizing topic in society?
Well, I think this stems from societal prejudice, actually. Societal stereotypes and lack of understanding, lack of education. While growing up, we were told to avoid persons with disability, especially those ones with cerebral palsy, that they are very strong. If they blow you, you can die.
Wow.
So we were taught to avoid them in order
Wow.
for you not to get in their bad side and they will do something really bad to you. So we grew up thinking that, okay, these people actually have extraordinary strength, so we should avoid them. When they hold you, they won't let go ever. And
So they're aggressive.
yes,
They're
they are
dangerous.
aggressive.
Yeah.
Yes, they are very aggressive. So I think it is lack of awareness. A lot of people see a person and what they see first is their disability instead of a person. I see you, and the first thing I notice is your wheelchair. The next thing I look at is your legs. The next thing I'm looking at is your face. I'm like, this person is not even worth my time. But when we look at disability as a human experience, we get to find out that everyone have their own unique experiences.
Exactly.
Everyone have their own unique struggles and where they are lacking. The same way we have a fair person, it's the same way we have a black person, a short and a tall. It's also the same way we have a person with disability and a person without disability. So it's all part of human experience and existence. So once we start seeing it as a human experience, there will be less discrimination in society, and then there will be less segregation
And stigma.
Like, okay, I go for a work interview, I step in and I am a person using crutches, and you don't want to employ me because you are afraid of what your customers will think when they see a person with disability working in your establishment. And another thing is, who are these people we are talking about? I mean, the people you are so afraid will think one kind about your organization because of that person with disability. They are all humans.
Okay, awesome. No, that's very key. And just to piggyback on what Ms. Amaka said, Mr. Naka, what steps can we take as humans first, and citizens of Nigeria second, to transform the perception of disability in our workplaces, schools, places of worship especially, and businesses like she just touched on?
Okay, first, we're already doing that in our daily work, but I think we need to do more. And as a filmmaker, I always believe in the power of the film. Because I know that film goes a long way to change people's perception.
Yeah.
You understand? And that was why we were able to engage stakeholders in the Nollywood to begin to tell them, please, let us begin to change how people see people with disability through the film. The few films I've watched so far about persons with disabilities, they portray persons with disabilities as beggars, people that don't amount to anything. And I'll give them a suggestion. I say, what if we use a rich man, a PWD, as a rich man and he's the father of a politician who called all the shots? Do you understand? What if we use, there are so many ways you can portray people with disabilities, and gradually people begin to get used to change mindset, change perception, and begin to get used to people with disabilities, other than just when you hear about them, you begin to think of they are beggars and all that.
Yeah, but I think that's really important. I mean, obviously, we're both filmmakers, and that's one of my motivations, just to be able to transform the perception of persons with disability in society.
I see a lot online. I see a whole lot online, and I think social media will be a very great tool in helping to change people's perception or prejudices against persons with disability, because it is vast. We can reach many people, more people than when we are doing it physically. So what I'll suggest is that we should make positive posts about persons with disability, use it as a tool for advocacy for persons with disability. And then also we can always, feature persons with disability in things that we do, not just those that are not with disabilities, because this aspect, so people tend to discriminate a lot. You want the finest person in the room to be seated, to be the host and all that, and it's not supposed to be so. Let's emphasize the achievements of persons with disability online. There are lots of persons with disability doing great things.
And I also wish to add that, yes, the social media is a great tool because it will target at the young people.
A greater audience, a wider audience.
The young persons.
All at once.
And when you talk about inclusion, these people are very, very important.
Yeah.
Because if you can catch them young, believe me, very soon Nigeria will become an inclusive society.
Exactly.
So, Mr. Donald, what do you think?
Yes, I think we need to take deliberate steps, in our content. We have to make sure that everything we are talking about disability, is included in our content that we are taking out there in social media. You understand? Like Potter's Gallery, we organize a festival every year. And that festival is a showcase of our people that are into different stuffs in the creative industry: music, theater, fashion, and all areas of the art. So, and 2 years ago, we decided to take the issue of social media very, very seriously. And because of that decision, today we have about 10,500 followers in social media. So we are very deliberate because we believe that content is key. Content is one of the ways that can help people change perception around disability.
What global initiatives or models can we look up to for inspiration in Nigeria when it comes to disability inclusion?
Okay, I think I like what is happening in Uganda. You know what they did in their parliament? They decided to set aside some seats for persons with disabilities. And what that means is that at the end of the day, that persons with disabilities will ultimately be in government. When you are in government, you can sort your issues out by yourself. Do you understand? So this is just one example of a global initiative that I am in love, with, and I think it's something that Nigeria can emulate and can look at the possibility of seeing if it can happen here.
Good thing is that this particular initiative or model has been provided for in the Disabilities Act. That is in section 30, which provides for inclusion of PWDs in political life. Right?
That's
Political life,
right.
political appointments,
Yes.
and all that. So it has been provided for. Just for us to adopt it and make sure that implement it exactly.
It is important for our audience to understand that disability is a life experience. If it has not gotten to you, it has not passed you. And we should, encourage inclusion. Whatever it takes to encourage inclusion, we should do it because it is already in our laws. It's already in our laws. And we all have a role to play when it comes to disability inclusion.
Thank you all for your profound contributions today. Your expertise and perspectives have enriched this discussion, and you've offered invaluable lessons, for me and our listeners. And to our audience, thank you for joining us on this journey of discovery and advocacy.